Have you ever noticed in your life that some people seem to have a lot of good luck and others, seem to have, well, a lot of bad? This is not your imagination, and it's really not a bad thing either, because it's just showing that your perception antennas are perhaps just a bit more sensitive than others. Hello, my name is Ernest. Welcome. And what I talk about in this series are the unfortunate consequences of ignoring one of the greatest abilities you naturally possess, perception. So, with no ado, let's dive right in. One of the greatest powers of perception a person needs to be aware of, and make no mistake, it absolutely is a power, is intuition. And it's not from a lack of intuition that problems occur. It's because people allow those who possess negative forces access to their inner space. Now, imagine looking down from a factory catwalk surrounding a very large machine, a very large but open machine with all its various cogs and wheels and gears and arms running smoothly, producing whatever it is that the machine was engineered and built to produce. And then somewhere in the distance on the catwalk, you see someone throw a large piece of metal into the open machine. And after a lot of screeching and clanging and banging, the machine comes to a complete stop. This is what I'm trying to illustrate by those who possess negative forces. Their actions are quite deliberate, and their goal is to interfere with another person's life as much as possible, yet at the same time making certain to hide behind a veneer of innocence, or even for that matter, outright love. And oftentimes, it's those that are closest to you that claim to love you, that you would never suspect whatsoever of doing the most harm. And it's because of that close access to you that they are able to do the greatest damage. Now, what I would like to make clear, and this is a mistake that many make because simply they don't understand what they're dealing with, is that the people that do this kind of damage I just spoke of don't typically do this in the physical realm. Sometimes it occurs, but not normally. Let me explain. Let's say you come out of your house one day, ready to hop into your car and do whatever it is that needs to be done. And you quickly discover that not only do you have a flat tire, but that you have four flat tires. So you have a deep sigh, and it comes down to two possible reasons for this. Your car was randomly vandalized by someone of questionable sanity that apparently didn't have anything else better to do with their time, or it's direct payback for something you actually did to someone, or their perception that you did something that was very offensive to them. And as I said, it's payback. You could have, for example, slept with a coworker who became extremely angry at you because even though you made it completely clear to them that you were in no way looking for a serious commitment or relationship, they did this to your car as a consequence of their deep, yet totally misguided anger towards you. In other words, someone who apparently doesn't have all their faculties wanted to cause you pain when you actually did nothing deliberately to cause them pain. But when dealing with certain types of individuals, this is not the case at all. Their attacks are towards your psyche. And they try to do as much psychological, which often does lead to physiological harm as possible. But I want to remind you, and I can't emphasize this enough, they only do this to a point, to not arouse suspicion, because if they do that, there's a very good chance that, well, the jig is up. And they really don't like losing victims. Perhaps another good analogy is to think of them as energy vampires, which actually is what the hell they pretty much are. And despite what has been constantly shown in the movies, a good vampire, a smart vampire, never sucks all the blood out of their victims. The object is to feed, not to kill. And that is exactly how energy vampires operate. Now, they may leave you mentally and physically fatigued. Then they stay away for a while so you regain your strength. Then they return to tear you down again. So, what these creatures do is invade your mind. And the main way they do this is simply by being around you physically and implementing extremely clever and manipulative ideas. One of the easiest ways you could tell this is to tap into your intuition. And if you're feeling mentally or physically drained after someone has been around you for some time, they are probably an energy vampire. That is your intuition trying to tell you that. And the best and simplest thing to do immediately is either get the hell away from them or have them get the hell away from you. Now, please don't confuse this with your feelings about crazy Uncle Fred at Thanksgiving dinner. He's not an energy vampire, just a bit crazy, and probably a bit loaded to boot. Let me give you just a basic example of typically how this predator versus prey thing works. You may have an important person in your life, usually a family or a friend, that you have had a good working relationship with, and they have been a very solid support anchor in your life for several years. Now, let's say the energy vampire knows this, and their primary goal is to harm you because the more psychologically distressed you become, the more they feed. And primarily, that is their singular goal, to be the unknown source of your psychological stress so they can periodically yet consistently feed upon you. So, in order to effectively accomplish that, they know they need to put a wedge between you and this other person. Now, it typically may start out very slowly and innocently at first. You can be out having food or drinks together somewhere, and they will somehow steer the conversation to get you talking about that other person. Then, slowly and very tactfully, they plant the seeds of that person's destruction in your mind. The overall goal is to slowly wear down your faith in that person, your good friend, and replace that with fear and or mistrust, if not downright hostility towards them. Once they've been able to successfully achieve that, if they have gotten to the point where they have successfully manipulated you into removing that person from your life, and depending on the number of good support people you have in your circle, they will repeat the process as many times as necessary or possible so they can then fully commit to destroying you, but slowly. Of course, vampire movies are one thing, but when witnessing this kind of thing taking place in real life, and I have many times, it scares the hell out of me. And since everything I'm saying here is absolutely true, it should scare the hell out of you too. But don't worry, I'm here to help. Unfortunately, I have run out of time in this episode. So in part two, I'll tell you exactly what to do to protect yourself from energy vampires and what you can also do to not only get your energy back, but how to access the inevitable damage that has been done to your consciousness as a consequence of being victims of these creatures. So naturally, please do reach out to me if you've actually experienced this currently or in the past. The advice I want to offer you is not the same as taking a damn stake and driving it through their heart, but it certainly is just as effective. So, do please click the subscribe and hit the notification bell because I really want to increase the show's membership and continue to give you the kind of content you enjoy. My sincerest thanks. Until next Monday or Friday, this is Ernest, and I usually always am.